Dear colleagues, I'm coming to you today with some fantastic news. The last few years have been very challenging for the education community globally, but we have never stopped innovating, advocating, and being present for our students. And now, thanks to our collective work and advocacy, we have a great opportunity to effect real and lasting change. We have a new set of tools to truly transform education around the world. The United Nations High-Level Panel on the Teaching Profession has just launched a series of landmark recommendations to address the alarming global teacher shortage and the value and respect our profession needs. These recommendations come directly from an initiative from the United Nations Secretary General to help governments end the alarming global shortage of over 44 million teachers. Education International advocated for the United Nations to take action for teachers and education support staff everywhere. Experts from around the world came together to be part of the panel. Ministers of education, former presidents, academics, representatives from civil society, and yes, most importantly, teachers and students. Education International was also represented on the panel and brought the voice of the profession, your voice, to these deliberations. And I specifically want to thank our president, Susan Hopgood, for her leadership. So, what do the recommendations say? The recommendations call on governments to ensure competitive, fair, and professional salaries. They call for secure employment, good working conditions, and balanced workloads. They urge governments to guarantee public investment in education and to reject austerity measures. Precarious employment and the use of contract teachers and unqualified personnel must come to an end. And teacher well-being is a priority. When it comes to our professional practice, the high-level panel recommends quality initial teacher training, publicly funded, including through the provision of stipends for teachers in training. It recommends quality, continuous professional development that is equitable, free, part of their official duties, and co-designed with our profession. Our professional autonomy must be respected, and teachers must be given the time and resources to collaborate and create communities of practice. Government should strive to ensure that all teachers have a university degree and standards defined by the profession itself. A strong commitment to gender equality, equity, and diversity cuts right across the recommendations. Working environments must be inclusive, safe, and non-discriminatory for teachers in all their diversity. And women's leadership must be encouraged. It says that refugee teachers and displaced teachers should be provided with pathways into the education workforce of host communities. And when a teacher is hired to work in camps for refugees or displaced persons, their labor rights must be respected. And of course, teachers and education staff working in situations of crisis, disasters, and conflict, they must be paid. Colleagues, one thing I'm really excited about is the panel's recommendations which put social and policy dialogue and collective bargaining at the heart of transforming education. Policies in education should be developed with teachers and their organizations at the table. Employment conditions should be determined through social dialogue, including collective bargaining. And yes, the panel even reaffirms the right to strike. Look, I know this is a lot. There are 59 recommendations, and they address the many pressing issues we face to guarantee the right to education. Also, the recommendations look at the role of technology in education. Teachers must have autonomy to choose how and when to use technology. And governments must work with teachers to create developmentally appropriate policies that support learning as well as protect student data. And the message is clear. Teachers are at the heart of education, and their relationship with students is at the core of learning. And we know that none of these recommendations can become reality without financing. The panel calls for equitable funding for education and sustainable investment in the teaching profession, because there are no shortcuts. Investing in education and in the teaching profession is the only way to guarantee the right to education and a qualified and supported teacher for every student. So now, we need to make these recommendations a reality. And your advocacy at country level is the next key step. The recommendations call for the creation of national workforce commissions that bring together teachers' unions and governments to address the teacher shortage and monitor the implementation of the recommendations. We need to make sure these commissions are set up and that they address the challenging issues you face. Now is the time to organize, mobilize, and join forces to go public and make sure our governments fully fund education and implement these recommendations. So this is our moment. Our union power can transform education all around the world. We can do this. Why? Because we are Education International.